security. So what do I mean by security? Whenever I give a request, I'll be typing a URL on the browser and pressing a request comes to server. Let's say there is a servlet with URL pattern /x. I may have a rule saying that this server with URL pattern /x should be accessed only by a role called as admin. Maybe I have another rule saying /y should be always accessed by a role called as employee, whatever. So generally in our organization there will be roles. There might be some thousands of employees, but roles will be somewhere around some 10 to 15 maximum roles, right? So we want role based security, right? Which URL is accessed by what role, right? So now whenever I give a request to /x, how does the server know who am I? It does not know initially, right? So the server will prompt you for username and password. You have to log in, right? Once you log in, what the server will do? Server will authenticate you. Authentication means what? Verifying whether username and password you submitted is correct or not. Okay. So let's assume that you are authenticated. Your username and password are correct. You are ASCs right now, Associate Software Engineers, right? But to access /x, you should be an admin. Your username and password is correct. You are authenticated, but you are not authorized to access, right? So you should get an error message saying authorization failure, right? So in security, if I were to talk about security, there are two things to talk about security: authentication, authorization, right? First, before I authorize you, I should know who are you. So before authorization, authentication has to happen, right? So security basically consists of authentication and authorization, first steps, right? So let's see how to authenticate your user first, and after the user is authenticated, how to authorize it, right? Now, authentication. There are various ways we can authenticate a user. In authentication, there are various ways of authentication. Basically, we'll see two types of authentication right now. I will show you basic authentication and form-based authentication. What is basic authentication and what is form-based authentication? I have seen you when you are logging in, whenever you open your browser is prompting a new window and asking for a username and password. I have seen, right? But if you are going to Gmail, how are you logging in? It's presenting you a HTML form for logging. But while logging into your corporate account, it is prompting your username and password in a window, right? If a separate window comes up for asking username and password, then why say that it is using basic authentication, right? If a separate HTML form is given to you, which is asking for username and password, then it is using form-based authentication. I'll show you both ways of authentication, right? First, I will show you basic authentication, right? Now, I need to tell to my container that I need basic authentication. Tell me, before your servlet is executed, if you want to execute some pre-logic, what will you do? So, do I need to write a filter? Why should I write? Security is a common requirement for all web applications, right? Tomcat has written the code for security, I need not write. Right? Tomcat has all the code for securing your applications, I need not write. But you need to tell to Tomcat what type of security you want. All the configuration should be done in web.xml. Securing your web applications, you need not write a single line of code also for securing your web applications. You just need to configure your app. So I'm showing you how to configure your web application such that it is secure. Okay. So I'm just creating a new application. Wait, I'll just configure everything in 15 minutes and I'll give you time for half an hour to wait. Okay. First see, because if you type parallel with me, you may not be able to get all the configurations. First see the configurations. I'll give you half an hour to do it. Okay, I'm just creating a new project, 11 Secutity. Next. Okay, what I will do is I'll just create a servlet called as X with URL pattern /X, and I'll configure that it should be accessed only by admin. Okay, so I'm going to create a new servlet. com.mysys, servlet name is X, URL pattern I'll let it be /X, small x symbol. Okay, so here I'm not writing much code, I'll just print I am inside servlet X. Response dot get writer dot println, you are seeing output of servlet X. That's all, right? So if you are successfully authenticated, you should be able to see it. Now, so how to tell the content? Just go to your web.xml. Inside web.xml, I just delete my welcome file list, not required. Okay. Coming here, I need to tell login configuration. What type of authentication I want? I want basic authentication. Basically, first time I will say login config. Auth method, authentication method is basic authentication I want. Right? So I said auth method is basic authentication method. So content understands. Okay, the client wants basic authentication. Okay, I have done it, but where do I configure usernames and passwords? Generally, the usernames and passwords will be in some database, right? Or if your application is too small, usernames and passwords can be configured in XML also. If your application is too small, if your application is big, then you will go to database. I will show you both ways. First, let me explain you the concepts based on XML configuration. Go to your server.xml. See, I have configured Tomcat as a plugin inside my Eclipse. See, here you are seeing servers, and here you are seeing server.xml, right? Is it not the same as you can't false server.xml is that, right? Actually, if you are working only with Tomcat, you will modify the server.xml. But if you are working with plugin of Tomcat plugin inside Eclipse, right? So a copy of same file is copied here. Say server conf, right? Okay, in server.xml, this is a main configuration file for Tomcat. Earlier we modified something in XML. Do you remember what we modified? So here is a place where we can configure our security also. So coming down, there is a tag called as realm. What is a realm? Tell me the English meaning of realm. English meaning, if I ask, it's nothing but simply to say a place, some place, right? A realm can be a some place, to be very in plain English. Security realm means a place where security credentials are stored is called a security realm, right? So I need to configure what is my realm, where my security credentials are stored, right? So I'm configuring a realm tag. Realm is user database realm, and resource name is user database. It's written like this by default. You don't understand. User database. Tell me, database means it should be always MySQL, Oracle like this, or can I say a file containing data also is a database? Database means what? Collection from data. It need not be some. It need not be using some RDBMS. RT is a DBMS. MySQL is a DBMS. Just something, a file also is a database. So here this realm is by default configured to use something called as user database, and that database by default is pointing to an XML file. See here, realm resource name is user database, right? So going on the top, there will be a resource tag. Yeah, there is a resource tag. What is the resource tag? Pointing to an XML file called as conf slash tomcat user. This resource, name of the resource is what? User database, same as the one realm tag. It is pointing to a file called as conf slash tomcat user.xml, right? Just I wanted to tell you that by default tomcat will be looking in a file called as tomcat-user.xml for usernames and passwords by default. You can make tomcat look inside your database RDBMS also. I'll show you a simple configuration. Okay. Okay. Then next, see here, in conf directory tomcat-users.xml, but in Eclipse it is here only, tomcat-users.xml. I'll remove all the comments. In tomcat-users.xml I can specify roles and users. I will specify roles. It can be role names in your application, like admin is one role, employee is one role, HR is one role. So I configured that my application has 3 roles: employee, HR and admin, right? Then I will configure user tags. User, tell me one name. Okay, Shiva, I'll take my name first. Password also I'll give same. What all roles I have? I am an admin and also an employee. One user can have many roles separated by comma. Admin also is an employer. So I will write one more tag. Tell me who wants to become a HR. Okay, I'll take. Who is CEO of Mighties? Short name. BB. Bread. Brett. Okay, at least I know. I came to know about this. Okay. Brett Bolin. I'll make him as the HR. more name. Okay, I'll give him a role called as CEO. Instead of making him as a HR, let him be a CEO only. No HR role. Okay, now one more employee. Who wants to be an employee? Who? All are employees only. Okay. Let's say all. Name is all. Password is all. Only employee. Okay. So there are 3 users and 3 roles. I configure randomly. Okay. Now, server knows where to pick the usernames, passwords, and roles. Coming to web.xml, I said I want basic authentication. And server already knows where to pick up the usernames and passwords for authentication. Now I need to talk about authorization. I need to keep a constraint on my application. /x should be accessed by admin. That's the constraint, security constraint. So to define security constraints, I need to write a tag called as security constraint. Web resource collection. Inside that, I will write web resource name. I will say admin resources. I will just dummy name. URL pattern is /x. Then auth constraint, role name. So this security constraint, you can easily identify. This security constraint says that for accessing a URL pattern /x, the role should be. That's the meaning of the security. Just this name I give. If I give /r, all should be accessed by. Okay, this is one security constraint, but one more thing is I can write a roles, security role. Role name, admin. I need to define all the roles again here. Security role, 3 roles are there in my application. Admin, CEO, and employee. That's it, I'm done. I've configured, I've secured my application. Now let's see, I'll just tell you the whole flow, how the request comes and what is going on internally. I'll give a request to /x servlet. See, I gave a request to /x. My Firefox is prompting me for username and password. What might have happened? The request went to server. Server saw /x. Is this a secure resource? It will compare all the security constraints. After comparing security constraints, it understands, okay, /x is secured. To access /x, you should be an admin. So server didn't know till now that who is logging user, right? So automatically it will show, it will send a response code. Every HTTP request and response code is there, right? 200 for success, 404 for file not found, 301 for redirection, 401 for authorization required. So it sends a response code to the browser saying authorization required, sorry, authentication required. 401 authentication required, right? So browser got same authentication required, browser will automatically come to your dialog box. If you submit URL password, it will send again to the same URL, username and password. Right? Now let's see. I'll type wrong username and password. No, it will ask again. Right? Will not accept. Now I will type correct username and password, but I will not type admin. Who is admin? Shiva is admin. But who is employee? All. I'll just say all. All. What is the one I got? 403. 403 means unauthorized. Access to the resource, requested resource has been denied. You logged in successfully, you are authenticated, but you are not authorized. Right? 401 indicates authentication rate. 403 unauthorized. Right? So if I refresh again will task until I close the browser, it is the same session, right? Close my browser. Again it will ask. The session ended. Until the session ends, once secured, once you are authenticated, until the session ends, the details are stored on the servers. It will not ask for username and password again and again. Right? So now I will give correct username and password, Shiva. We are seeing what works. Shiva is not admin, so he is able to access. Right? So this is about basic authentication. Right? You can just configure your servlet now and you can start modification. I don't want basic authentication. I want HTML form to be given to me for asking username and password. So what I'll do is simple. Instead of basic, I'll say form. And then if it is form, I need to write login config tag. Form login config. Form login page. I'll say / login.jsp. And form error page, I'll say / login.jsp. Sorry, login error.jsp. Right. So I need to write now login.jsp and error.jsp. This is the page which is displayed when authentication fails. Login error.jsp. Now I'll write it. See how to write. Inside web content JSP login.jsp. Here you should ask for username and password. Here I'm writing a form. Action is equals to J_security_check. This is a predefined action and you have to write exactly same J_security_check. That should be the action. Once we submit, it should go there. And username I'll ask in input. Type is equals to text. Name is equals to J_username. See, this should be the exact name for username. Then password, input, type is equals to text, name is equals to J_password. This should be the name for the password field. That's all. Submit button. Input type is equals to submit, value is equals to log. That's all. Right? So login.jsp I wrote. Similarly, I will write login error.jsp. Just write some error message. That's all, nothing else. Authentication error. If username and password is wrong, then you should get a page saying that your authentication failed. That should be the page. Authentication error. Only authentication error. Authorization error, again you will get the same error message. Right? So similarly, I will write for a new file login error.jsp, whatever I have configured. Login error.jsp. Is it the same, the one? I give login error.jsp. Yeah, same. So I'll just say now outside. Oh, did I create inside? Okay, outside web INF only. You can just say authentication failed, some message, whatever, and even you can redirect again to login page. Okay, it's up to you, but right now I'm just writing authentication failed. That's all. Now I will make a request to Secutity X. See, it is asking for username and password. I gave a request for Secutity X, but it is automatically asking for. It displayed me login page. Now I'll type wrong username and password. I'm getting the error page displayed. Is that? Again I'll close the browser and run X. I will log in as all access is denied. Then again I log in as Shiva. It should be permitted. Same, but now we got a form, right? So you can decorate your form. Login.jsp I wrote simply like this. You can decorate your login.jsp if you want. The last part, I need to configure security inside database. That means I need to configure usernames, passwords, roles, everything inside a database, right? The simple configuration is to open your server.xml, and in server.xml there is a ream tag, right? Just before some time I showed you ream tag. So here this ream tag is using a resource called as user database, which was pointing to tomcat users.xml. So if you don't want to use tomcat-users.xml, you just have to comment this. and add one more ream tag, right? There is a ream tag called as Datasource ream. Here the ream tag class name is user database ream. There is one Datasource, there is one ream called as Datasource ream. Okay, so I need to configure it. To understand about how to configure it, I want to tell you one more. Before to understand that, we need one more concept called as JNDI, Java Naming and Directory Interface. So to understand how to configure that, you need to understand about JNDI. So let me introduce you to what is JNDI. Java Naming and Directory Interface. JNDI is a specification which is part of J2E. What is J2E or JE? It is superset of all specifications, right? Solid specification, JSP, JNDI, JSTL, all together we call it as JE. JNDI is a specification inside JEE specification. What is it all about? It provides implementation of JNDI specification has to provide two services: naming service, directory service. Tell me about some directory services which you know. Any directory services which you know? Naming service. Okay, let me introduce about what is naming service, what is directory service. Implementation of naming service is nothing but a naming server, right? And implementation of directory service is nothing but a directory server. So what I can do is, if I want to implement a naming server, I can write a server program which will be listening on a port. By default, according to JNDI specification, any naming server will be listening on a port called as 1099. 1099. This is naming server. What is the purpose of naming server? What is the purpose of HTTP server? It will take HTTP requests, give HTTP response. Naming server also takes requests for binding objects with a name. You can bind any objects with a name. You can send a request to naming server using some protocol which you are not interested. Like HTTP server will use HTTP protocol. For a server, if there is any server, there will be one protocol. Naming servers will be using some protocol. There are a lot of protocols which are used. Like LDAP, Lightweight Directory Application Protocol. LDAP is a protocol which is used by naming servers generally. So don't worry about protocols right now. What you can do is, to this server, you can make any client application can make a request and it can ask, okay, I am giving you an object, bind it with a name X. So what the server will do is, it will bind an object with a name. Internally, the naming server will be using a tree structure, a data structure. Internally, naming server will be having a data structure of type tree. Every tree will have a node. Whenever you ask the naming server to bind an object, any object with a name, what it will do is it will insert a node inside the tree. At a particular tree, there will be a binding between X and an object, right? But why? What is the requirement? Let me tell you a simple example. What I can do is, by writing a simple client, I can make a data source object. Data source, you know, for connection pooling. I can create a data source object here, and I can send a request to naming service to bind a data source object with a name called as X. What will happen? The data source object will be serialized from here. You know about serialization. Object can be sent over a stream. Writing an object to a stream is called serialization. Reading is called deserialization. So by writing a client, what I can do is I can make a request to naming server. Bind data source object to name called as X. The request will go. While the request is going, data source object will be serialized and sent over here. It will be deserialized here. Right? And object will be bound with a name called as X. Okay. After that, what I can do is I can write another client, and can ask the naming server, can make a connection to naming server and ask, get me an object which was bound with a name called as X. Right? So what will happen? The data source object was here, right? It will be serialized from here and it will be sent over here. Here it will be deserialized. So here this client can get a data source object. Right? Once data source object is got, you can call data source dot get connection to get a connection. Right? So what I want is, for my whole application, I want a data source object to be automatically created. Okay? And the same data source object should be used whenever I require a connection. So what I can do is, I can connect to naming server and ask the naming server to bind an object with a name. Right? So as I told, JNDI is a specification. Implementation of this JNDI is nothing but a JNDI server. JNDI server has both naming server as well as directory server. Naming server and as well as directory server. Right now we are not interested in directory server. Let's concentrate on naming server. JNDI server has naming server as well as directory server. Naming server. What you can do with naming server? You can make a request to naming server and ask it to bind an object with a name. And later you can ask the naming service to give an object which was bound with a name. Right? Any doubts? Okay. So now I'll show you how to talk to JNDI server. To talk to JNDI server, you need to know how to connect. It's a separate client. You need to know how to connect. Right? I'll show you how to connect. But understand that Tomcat, when I start Tomcat, servlet container is starting, JSP container is starting. Similarly, JNDI server also starts. JNDI server is internally present inside Tomcat. So when I start my Tomcat, JNDI server also starts. It will be listening on a port 1099 by default. Right? What you can do is you can make a request to JNDI server also. Right? So see here, I'll just show you a simple program. Simple thing. Inside my servlet, I wrote a servlet here. If I want to ask the naming server to bind an object with a name, I need an object called as initial context. I will create an object of initial context. This is throwing some exception called as naming exception. I'll catch it inside an initial context. See from which package is it present? Java x dot naming. Then I'll say context.bind. If you want to bind an object with a name, you can just say context.bind. Name with which I want to bound is x, and I can give second parameter is any object. I can call data source object or any object. Right now I can say string object. So this is a way to bind. Whenever you say initial context, in this constructor, there will be some code which will initialize, which knows about how to connect to JNDI server. Right? Then whenever you say context.bind, it will connect to make a connection to naming server and send a request to bind an object with a name. That's all. This is a way to bind. Okay. Now again, if I say context dot bind y, yes, will this also bind? Yes, like this you can bind a number of objects. But if I say context dot bind x again, I'll get an exception saying x is already bound. There is already an object which is bound with them. Right? So what you have to do is, if you want to rebind, you can say context dot rebind. That means the old value will be replaced with new value. If you say rebind. Okay. So this is a way to bind an object name inside JNDI server. And if there is already an object which has bound with a name, what you can do is you can say context dot lookup. Give a name x, you will get the object. String value of x is equal to, typecast it to string. You can say out, or I can just say system dot out dot println value of x in JNDI plus, I'll just see it on console. Okay. Now I will just make a request to this servlet. Simple, any servlet. Okay, so Riam tag is not properly ended up. There is some problem with server.xml. What is it saying here? Okay, as of now, I have just uncommented it as of now. We'll see it later. Let me show you how to run this. Okay, so I'll give Shiva correct username and password. Shiva and Shiva. Okay, now let me see the console. Value of x in JNDI is DEF. Right? So what you can do is you can just bind any object and look up any object like. Right? You understood how to bind an object to JNDI server and look up? Okay, once you are done, now in my application, if I want to interact with database, what I require? Datasource. Right? Earlier, when doing your projects, what you have done? You have created a separate class, a separate factory, which will give you an object of Datasource. Not required. Tomcat will create a Datasource object for you if you just configure. Okay? How to configure the Datasource? There are two steps. Right? Two steps. Go to context.xml here. In Tomcat conf folder, there will be context.xml, and inside context.xml, just write a resource tag like this. I just wrote now. Just write a resource tag like this, and one thing is your driver should be in Tomcat lib directory. Driver jar should be in Tomcat lib directory when you are using this. Just write. Now I'll explain you what is this. This is the name with which you can give anything x, just like a JDBC slash. Right? You can give anything. This is the name with which the data source object will be bound in JNDI. I'm saying JNDI name is this one, and type is data source. Okay, and for data source, what all are required? Username, password, private class name, URL, maximum active connections, maximum idle connections, maximum waiting connections. I have given all the required things for data source. So that's all. If you write this tag and start your server, automatically the container Tomcat will create an object of this type, data source, and register inside the JNDI with this name. Right? You should be able to see this jar here if you paste it inside Tomcat lib. Right? Now, just understand this theory. As I told, naming server will be managing a tree structure. Just concentrate here. Many people are confused about JNDI at this point. Just concentrate here so that you can understand clearly. Inside naming server or inside the JNDI server, there is a tree structure, as I said. It is maintaining a tree structure. Right? Each node inside this tree is called as a context. Each node in JNDI terminology, we call each node as a context, and we call this tree as a JNDI tree. Okay? Each node is nothing but a context, right? Now, if I get the reference of this node, I'll be able to look down the nodes, is it? Suppose if I get the reference of this node, I cannot go up the tree. There is no way so that you can go up the JNDI tree. You cannot go up the JNDI tree. You can go down only. You can iterate down only, right? So if you get the reference of this node, you can only see the nodes which are children of this node. You cannot see the nodes which are siblings or which are parent of this node, right? So each node is called as a context. What do I mean by context? We are hearing context, 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 context. We have learned servlet context, page context. Again here I am saying context. What is the general meaning of a context? Suppose, yeah, correct, you are correct. I'll tell an example. Suppose I am outside India. Let's say two of my friends, me and my friend, met in US. Okay, and we decided, okay, we'll be meeting in India on a particular date in MG Road. We decided in MG Road. It's MG Road. Delhi is having MG Road. Bangalore is having MG Road. Chennai also is having MG Road. Everywhere MG Road is common, right? In almost all cities MG Road is common. Which MG Road? Then we should decide on in which context are you speaking? I am speaking in Bangalore context. MG Road in Bangalore context. MG Road in Chennai context. So we always speak something in a relative position. Relative to what? Relative to Bangalore. In Bangalore context, MG Road is here. In Chennai context, MG Road is somewhere else. Right? So whenever we are speaking, we always speak from a context perspective. From which perspective? From Bangalore perspective, right? So like that, servlet context. Now, if I am asking for servlet X, right? I am asking you, make a request to servlet X. Immediately you may ask me, from which context are you asking servlet X? Servlet X is present in many applications, right? We might have deployed 10 applications in Tomcat. There might be servlet X in more than one application, right? So if I ask you, give a request to servlet X, you should ask me immediately, in which context are you speaking? There are applications A, B, C, D, and D. There are 5 applications A, B, C, D, and E. If I ask you to give a request to servlet X, you should ask, In which context? In context of application A, in context of application B, right? So for every application there will be one context. Servlet context is an object which is particular to a particular application, right? Page context is particular to that page, right? So here also, every tree, this JNDI tree will be having a lot of contexts, right? Whenever I deploy my web application, for my web application there will be one context created here, a node created inside the JNDI tree automatically, right? So suppose if this is a node for my application A, right? From this context I can see only the nodes which are down this, right? I cannot see the context above it, right? So whenever an application is deployed in the JNDI tree, one node is created automatically by Tomcat. And if you want, from your application, if you want to look up one of the nodes, you can look up only the nodes which are down to you. You cannot look up the nodes which are, right? Now, what has happened is, whenever we are saying initial context, whenever we are creating an object of initial context, in which application am I creating initial context? In 11 security, this is my application name, 11 security. In this application I am creating an initial context, right? Suppose if this is a node in JNDI tree corresponding to my application, I will be getting the reference of this context object. That is the meaning of initial context. I will be getting a context from where I can look upon, right? So I will be getting a reference of a node. Whenever I say initial context, I will be getting a reference of a node for my application, right? But if you have seen, I have configured context.xml. Is this context.xml particular to my application? No, it is present in Tomcat conf directory. It is context.xml is common to all applications, right? So whenever I configured context.xml, Datasource object is created and bound at some node, right? It is bound at some node inside the JNDI tree, at some node. But my application is at here, this node. Now can my application access this node? No. My application cannot access this node because my application can see only the nodes down. Do you agree? Any doubts till now? In this case, what I said, what is the name of the resource? JDBC/CYDB, right? The root node of my JNDI tree, this is a root node. Let's say in Tomcat I have deployed 5 applications. Application A, 1 node. Application B, 1 node. Application C, 1 node. Like that. Okay, let's say 3 applications. There is 1 node created inside the JNDI tree for each application. And when I configure like this, what has happened is I have said JDBC/CYDB, right? So what the Tomcat will do is to create a node for JDBC. Under that, it will create another node called as CYDB. Okay. Now CYDB, my data source object is bound at this node. Okay. But let's say that I am trying to access data source from my application B. This is my current application, let's assume. I cannot have a direct access to this one, right? So what I have to do is I have to configure in my web.xml like this. In my web.xml, just have configured resource ref. I have to configure like this. a reference of a resource with this name JDBC cache CYD. Right? So if I configure like this, I am saying what is this resource type? Data type, data source. And who is authenticating? Container is taking care of authenticating the username and password to the database. Right. See, when I do like this, when I write a resource ref tag, what will happen is under B application, my current application, automatically a node will be created. It's called as Java colon comp. Java colon comp. Under that, another node is created with name env, meaning environment. My application might be having some environment. Under that, there will be a node, a node with name JDBC. Under that, there will be a node called as ShivaDB, which will be referencing to this node. The reference is created, right? So my application B, this data source is not only for my application B, it is somewhere here. My application is just referring. Under this node, we are having a reference of data source. So whatever is present inside this node will be referred by both reference, right? Now what I need to do is simple. I need to look up for data source. So how do I look up? Java colon comp / env / jdbc / ShivaDB. This will be the name with which I have to look up. Okay. So see how I am looking up. I'll just remove all this. Context dot lookup Java colon comp. This is a standard one. Java colon comp is a namespace for all Java components under our application. / env means environment for this application. / jdbc / what is the name I gave? ShivaDB. So now if I look up with this name, I will be getting a data source. ds is equals to, I'll typecast it, right? Now if I want a connection, ds dot get connection, I'll take it in a connection reference. Right? So for now I'll just print system.out.println connection. Let's see whether it will print or it will throw an exception or not. Okay. So I'll just stop my server, stop it. Already I'm running it. Okay, it's asking for username and password because it's secured. Got the output. Let's see on the console. What is it printing? Connection object I printed, right? Connection object toString is printing something like this, right? I got a connection object without any exception. So once I get a connection object, the story is connection not prepared statement, not execute update. Right? So in a web application, this is a way to get a data source, and this is the concept behind JNDI. You understood about how to configure data source, right? Clearly. Then now I want to configure Tomcat to look for usernames and passwords in database, right? So see here, I need to configure a ream tag like this inside my which file? Server.xml we already saw a ream tag. Just go there. Okay. Delete that ream, or you can comment that ream. I'm deleting it right now, and I pasted this Datasource ream. And here the Datasource name is what? JDBC/CYDB. I should give what is that? The JNDI name. JDBC/CYDB. Right? So it knows what is the JNDI name to look for data source. Right? Then I am telling about two tables. User table is what? Users. You should create a table called as users in your database. Table name you can change. You can change users underscore mysys. Whatever table name is specified. So you should create a table as you specified there. And create users underscore. End of that, what is the user column name? User underscore name. You should create user underscore name. This should be the column where usernames are stored. And user credential column is user underscore pass. This is a users table. Here you should store usernames and passwords. Then you should create one more table, role table. Role table is user underscore roles. You should create one more table, user underscore roles, as you configured. And the primary key of this table is user underscore name, and this should be the foreign key, user underscore name, right? And one more column, role name column is role underscore name. So you have to create two tables according to this configuration. Now you store usernames and passwords here, username and role names here. Foreign key, should it be unique? No need. So that means one user can have many roles, right? Now just all the code is same, just remove the previous ream tag and add this. Now your security will pick up from this tables, right? You can try for this tag maybe in your assignment to pick the usernames and passwords from database in your assignment. Now I'm just stopping it. So we have completed the total JSP.